almost 20 million tons of edible oil to be imported, which is already a $10 billion import we have for edible oils in the country today annually, and it will touch astronomical proportions by 2030. So there are serious challenges on the demand side. I mean, I am not talking about the food security bill, which will put additional demand on the food and things like that. So there is enough pressure. There are enough drivers on the demand side. But on the supply side, if you see, our agriculture has not really produced a substantial increase in yields since 1991. After the Green Revolution effect has weaned off, we have not been able to really increase yields, and most of the annual increases are less than 1%, except in cotton, where there is a spike from 2003 onwards. So how do we bridge this gap? This is a major aspect of our agriculture today. We are struggling, is that how do you bridge this gap? And there are ways in which you can bridge this gap. You can see here that reducing post-harvest losses, we can save around 20% of the food grains by reducing post-harvest losses. Farm practices, many of the farm practices we follow today are very old, very traditional practices, and they are not modernized. We don't apply science and technology in our in our farm practices. That can make a difference of 50% to the yields. If you do breeding and biotechnology, that can make another 80% difference. So there is a possibility that we can take up the yields by almost 150% if we use some of these tools and techniques properly. Cotton is a big revolution we have had. Cotton production went up from 2002 onwards, and from 13 million bales production which we had in 2002, today we produce 34 million bales. We were importing cotton in 2002. Today we are the second largest exporter of cotton in the world. We earn around 20,000 crores every year, and cotton farmers have earned more than 8,000 rupees per acre as additional profits. Cotton farmers' livelihoods have improved. There are studies which show how their lifestyles have improved. 87% cotton farmers enjoy better lifestyles. They have sent their children for education. They have repaid long-term pending debts. Female earners, all the cotton is picked by women in the villages, and they have earned much more money because now they have to pick 34 million bales compared to 13 million bales earlier. So it is a substantial increase. Around 42 crore additional man days of employment was created because of this cotton production. This is just to show that an increase in a particular crop's productivity and production can create a huge impact on the rural livelihoods and rural prosperity. So with this background, let me just list out a few challenges, and these are the challenges that our agriculture is facing today. Stagnant yields, I talked about it already. Constraint on resources, land and water are always constrained. You will never have enough of them. Lack of, and our politicians and we are all so busy building capitals and consuming agricultural land, and we are all focused on building megapolis rather than building our villages. So there is a problem of land and water. Lack of infrastructure, power, roads and storage is a big issue in the villages. Small holding sizes, I talked about it. Public extension system is languishing. Labor shortage and cost of labor has gone up. This is also a major impact on agricultural operations today. The farmers find it very difficult to carry out two major agricultural operations where they need labor. One is weeding and second is harvesting. In fact, it is a major issue, and in paddy it is transplantation. So transplanters demand has shot up tremendously because of this shortage. So unprofitable farming, I talked about it. Farmers' risk-bearing capacity has come down gradually over a period of time. This is the reason for suicides, that when there is a one crop failure, he is not able to bear that entire burden. So the risk-bearing capacity has come down. We don't use enough of science and technology in our agriculture. We still do our agriculture in a very traditional fashion. Market risks are very high. We have exposed our farmer to the international markets. He is now governed by international prices, but he is not equipped with sufficient technology and other facilitating factors to face that competition. So it is a highly restricted and regulated industry. That's one of the reasons for this. Farmers don't have a voice in our country. I was telling in the morning that in a highly open society like US, the farmers decide how much acreage they have to plant for each crop. And in a planned economy like ours, the farmers don't even know when they are planting. They don't know how much they should plant and what will be the price of the product when it comes to the market. If I am planting today, the crop comes in 3 months' time, At that, after 3 months, what will be the price in the market when my product comes to the market? They don't know that. So it is a completely vacuum in which they are actually doing their agriculture. So they are losing interest and lack of adequate policy support and infrastructure. This is a major issue. Nobody pays attention. You read budget speech, it looks like a budget meant for industry and not for agriculture. There is hardly any mention about agriculture in our policy. So there is a serious issue there in terms of policy support. So the areas of action where we need policy interventions also is that we have to review our crop portfolio and then decide what crops we have to grow. Are we growing the right crops? 60%, the largest consumer of water in the country or in the world is agriculture. 60% of the water we use in agriculture is consumed by paddy, transplanted paddy. Transplanted paddy uses water not for any other purposes but to control weeds. That is the only purpose of standing water in paddy. So do you need so much water to control weeds, or are there other methods of controlling weeds? And can you save this water to do something else? So these are the issues we have to look at. The moment there is an irrigation project, we start growing rice and sugarcane. That is a very automatic response of the farmers. But is that the right thing to do? Are we growing the right crops? Investment in infrastructure, we need roads, we need more storage facilities, and you all know, many of you may be coming from villages. So what is the status of roads and what is the status of power in the villages? The farmers have demonstrated that if they get a good quality power, they don't mind paying more. This has happened in Gujarat, that they were given this offer that it will cost you so much more, but you will get high quality uninterrupted power. They opted for it and it gave them tremendous benefits in terms of productivity improvements. But we have, on the other hand, some of our states where we give subsidy and we don't supply. What is the use of subsidy when power is not supplied? So it is like that. The quality of power and continuous supply makes a big impact on the agriculture. Deployment of science and technology. I talked about ICT we should use more. It is coming up now. And how do we use ICT technology for communicating with the farmer, both in extension and other areas? Solar energy we should use more. I think solar pump sets are now coming into, under a lot of promotional aspects. We have to use more of that. Biotechnology has tremendous opportunity. It can give us the ability to grow crops with less water. It can give us the ability to grow crops with less fertilizers, and thereby saving not only costs but also environmental degradation. So we should use such technologies. Forecasting systems, I talked about it already. Weather forecasting or prices forecasting should be available to the farmer at a more accurate level. And organic farming, IPM, protected agriculture, which is a greenhouse agriculture. These are all technology applications which can make a big difference to the farmers' lives. And we will have to see how we can encourage the farmer and how we can make these things accessible to the farmer. The farmer is not able to access many of these things today. Waste to wealth. Agricultural waste management is a big area. In Punjab and Haryana, farmers burn their rice stock after the harvesting, which is a huge pollution creator. But why should anybody burn their agricultural waste? They have to use it to create either a compost or to create an energy source. And there are technologies available for that, but we need programs at the ground level to really get them implemented. Again, rural farm services model, I believe, has a great opportunity here. Extension services have to be strengthened. APMC is an act which actually restricts the farmers from selling their produce. Farmers from one district cannot sell the produce in another district. This is the type of APMC. APMC Act was formed 100 years back, and that act will still continue. Karnataka has recently done away with that and made a huge impact. They have harmonized, they have combined all their markets and put them on a computer platform so that the farmers can trade on the computer now. So these kind of things have to happen if we want to make the farmers more technology. We want to use the technology to help the farmers. Value-added agriculture, food processing, I think we were talking about it in the morning, that increasing yields and increasing production is one aspect, but what do you do with that production? How do you capture that in such a way that it finally creates value for the farmer? It should not go waste. I was told that the capsicum production in Punjab has gone up so much. out of so many projects that they are producing 100 times of Delhi's requirement, and it is all just lying there and then getting wasted. So you have to capture. We talked about tomato in the morning when we were sitting, that when the production comes, do you have programs to capture that production and process it and use it? Access to finance and comprehensive insurance. One of the reasons why our farmer is so vulnerable is that there are no effective insurance programs for him. And this is a major area of attention we need, and that is something which can act as a safety net for the farmer. And there is a need for an aligned policy environment. Agriculture, unfortunately, is a concurrent subject. So the center and state both are responsible, and when two people are responsible for one thing, it never works. That is very clear. So there has to be only one person responsible for a certain thing, whether it is state or center. But when two are responsible, they will always fight and there is no alignment. That is one of our issues. So sustainable agricultural practices, I don't want to go into all the details, but this is something we need to promote at the farmer's level to minimize environmental degradation and maximize his long-term profits. So coming to rural development, 85 crore people are living in rural areas. And this was from 74% 10 years back. Today, 68% of our people are in rural areas. 68% are involved in agriculture in the rural areas. Literacy rate is 68%. Agriculture development, we have seen that directly contributes to rural development. And we have seen that 48% of the GDP comes from rural areas today, while the share of rural in the population is coming down, and the share of rural in the GDP is around 48%. Rural incomes are expected to rise. This is a McKinsey study which showed that the number of people who are in the higher income brackets in the rural areas, their percentage is going up continuously, and this will go further up. And less than 90,000 rupees income people, that percentage is coming down, and in future it is expected to come down further. Rural mix of GDP is fast changing from agriculture dominated GDP, which was around 50%. It has now come down. Industry and services sector also are picking up in the rural areas. So there are opportunities in both industry and service sectors for this. So basically, rural development, what is it that we need? My last two slides will just talk about what is it that we want the policy interventions and policy people to focus on. Basic infrastructure, and we talked about it, I think Professor Bhanujira also talked about it, that we don't have primary education, we don't have primary health, and this is not related to agriculture, I am talking about rural development, that we pay so much attention to higher education that we don't pay attention to primary education. And we can't build a building from top, you have to build a building from the bottom. So that simple fact we have forgotten. So the villages are the most neglected lot today. I mean, I went to some villages very close to Hyderabad. They have a school, but there is no teacher, because they say that the bus doesn't come into the village because there is no road. And the teachers who come from outside don't want to get down and walk a mile to come to the village. So those are the kinds of situations. We know about sanitation, we know about toilets, roads, drainage, power. Villages are very romantically described in our literature and shown in the films, but you go and you can't live in a village because of the mosquitoes, because of the lack of drainage facilities. Everything which makes you not live in a place is there. So how do you convert this and make it into an attractive place for people to go and live in villages is really an issue there. Employment generation in agri and non-agri, we have to focus on that. Skill development programs, I think is a great need for that. Entrepreneurship development programs, we don't have any major entrepreneurship initiatives in rural and agriculture sectors. This is something which can make a big difference to the economy there. We have to decentralize economic activities. Instead of building one mega capital, we should build more villages and make it into a more decentralized form of development. Make rural areas attractive for people to live in. There should be some glamour in which people will develop the trust and go and live in villages. You need urban facilities, accessibility, transportation. I basically believe that technology must be used. We have seen how technology transformed our communication from people who did not even have a landline today have 3 mobile phones in the house. So they have not gone through that technology step by step. They have leapfrogged technology. So can it not be done in other parts of our lives? And think that's where technology will make a big difference to our lives. And why not? It should make a difference to the lives of the rural people. So I'll just show you an example that how a bank is working on a model like this to use a mobile to connect the last mile, what they call the last mile, in terms of customer servicing, how they will use, how they will do all the most of the banking transactions through the mobile. And this is something not only in India, even in Africa, this is being taken up in a big way, that it can build, it can help you to reach that last mile without actually having to travel physically. So there are ways in which technology can be used. So in summary, I would like to say that we have to think differently. We have to think out of the box. If we keep thinking like what we were thinking for the last 65 years, we will achieve what we have achieved in the last 65 years. So if we have to achieve something different and at a different level, we have to think differently and at a different level. We need to use technology. I am a great believer that technology will make a big difference to the lives of people, whether it is farmer or the rural Indian. So I think that will help us to leapfrog both in agriculture and rural population. Even in agriculture, we have to use technology and science. In the rural areas, we have to use. Incomes are rising, but infrastructure is not keeping pace. And we need a major policy initiative and attention. Basically, it needs attention. We don't have enough attention on our rural areas at the moment, which is always actually a great mystery for me, because if 68% people are in rural areas and more 58% of our people are dependent on agriculture, why politician, when he pays attention to rural areas and agriculture, why he can't get votes? I don't understand that. I mean, if a politician pays attention to rural areas and votes, automatically he should get, good votes. But still people don't do that. And so this is a great area of lacuna for us. So I hope we can overcome that. So that's about it from my side. On both the fronts, I am very optimistic. I think that things will improve and things will change. But we need a clear path and we need commitment. Political commitment is very important in this whole exercise. From the top, like we are talking about, I was saying in the morning also that you have a prime minister today who talks about cleanliness, which is actually a great thing because nobody talked about cleanliness so far. But you will respect cleanliness only when you respect cleaners, people who actually clean. If you don't respect them, you will never respect cleanliness. Similarly, you will not respect agriculture if you don't respect farmers. If you don't have respect for people who grow your food, you will never develop that level of respect for agriculture. So I think we need to inculcate some of these habits. And but I am very hopeful. I am very optimistic that the future will be different from the past. Thank you very much.